Hi folks, I'm Mike and I do hope you're well. Welcome to this live stream. This is another episode of Featured Artist Live. We're on our third episode already, and if this is your first time here, what this show is going to be all about is I'm going to have a couple of guests with me and we're going to listen to 5 songs which people from my community have sent in to sort of be assessed. And we'll be looking at it in terms of, sorry, I'm turning my speakers off. We'll be looking at it in terms of mostly production, but it could be the song itself. And hopefully, as well as listening to some great music, you guys can get to learn a thing or two that we'll chat about, especially from my guests. So I've got a couple of great guests who are really much more knowledgeable than me in many ways, which is why I love having guests on, so that they can help me out with the knowledge stuff. But I've got a few thanks to make before we start. First of all, I want to thank my sponsors up here, DistroKid, and as you probably know, but in case you don't, if you follow that link, and that link's in the description, you get 7% off when you sign up for DistroKid, and it's really not that expensive anyway, and it's a fantastic way to release your music to most of the places you really want to release it to. So thanks to them. I also want to thank the people that have entered. I've received a few hundred entries, and I listen to a few more all the time, and I pick the ones that I feel would be really interesting to discuss and listen to. If you haven't been picked yet, then don't think you won't be picked. I've got many more to go through, and hopefully this is going to be an ongoing live stream for Thursdays. And if you do want to enter, I've got a link in the description down below, and you can just go along there, fill in the form. When you do fill in the form, then make sure you give some information there about the production of the song that you're submitting, so that we get a bit of an idea of what was involved in creating it. Now, I just want to address something quickly in terms of thanks with this particular show, because many of you will know from my community posts during the week that unfortunately on Monday, while I was producing this week's video, I got the sad news that my father had died. And so that video I didn't continue to make, and I've taken some days off, and I did let you guys know that that I would be taking a little bit of time off, and I want to thank you, because I received so many messages of support about what obviously you guys knew I would be going through, and it's very moving to receive those messages. And as I said in one of my thanks, it really kind of restores your faith in human beings. There's just a real generosity of spirit that came back to me. Just briefly, I'll tell you that my dad was 90 years old. He had lived a really kind of good life. I'll always remember him for he's very kind, loving, generous person, and since he passed, I've received many messages from cousins and friends and people, and the overwhelming memory is of his kindness and generosity. And it just reminded me that how important that was in life, and that's something that I hope to improve on and follow his example. I did think a little bit before the show about music. My father wasn't a musician or anything like that, and he loved to listen to music. Of course, there was always music on in the house when I was young, and he kind of represents the average music listener in a way. He wasn't listening for compression or really probably even aware of. He probably wouldn't know what the mix was, to be honest with you. He liked music or he didn't like it, and the music he listened to reflected his personality. He loved music with lyrics which were about expressions of love and positivity. And I remember that he listened to a lot of happy music, and it just reminded me that music did play an important role in his life, even though he wasn't a musician, and it played an important part of our family life. And I guess, guys, it reminded me of what we should remember when we're making music, that it's about the music first of all, before the production, and And remember, your listeners don't listen to music like we do. And they certainly don't listen to it in the way that me and my guests are going to talk about it today, although we naturally need to as musicians. But so it's just an interesting thought before we go into what we're going to listen to today. Now, I do want to say, finally, a massive thanks to the people who are in the chat with us now. There's lots of you here. And as we are listening to the songs, do make sure you leave your comments in the chat as well. I'd love to hear what you're thinking about the music that you're hearing during the show today. You're an important part of the show. And also, if you're watching on the replay, then do make sure you leave some things in the comments. And the last thing I want to say to the people in the chat right now, please go ahead and like the video right now if you haven't already, because I'm told the way the algorithm works is that more people will come in and see the show if you like it right away. So I expect to see those likes go up, bang, 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 right away. Cool. All right, let's get started by introducing you to the first of my guests. Talking, indeed earlier on about my father there and his generosity. I have known this man for a few weeks, I guess, or maybe a few months now. I'm not sure. I've lost time, but he's extremely generous. He's helped me out an enormous amount in the background. He's another YouTuber with a similar type of channel. And if you probably don't know, guys, the YouTubing community in terms of people like us who are about music production is a really lovely community. There's a lot of people that really help each other out. There may be some natural competitiveness, but there's a lot of people helping each other out and getting along. So anyway, without me going on too much longer, because I don't want to build him up too much, I want to introduce you to Chris from Mixdown Online. How you doing, Chris?
Hey,
you're in Canada, right?
I'm in Canada. Maybe that's a part of why you think I'm a nice person.
It's true. Canadians do have that reputation, don't they? Is it true? Is everyone in Canada really nice?
I don't know. I feel like when I go down south, to the U.S., people are pretty nice. So
yeah, of course, our American cousins.
But I know that people tend to say so that Canadians are kind of pretty nice people.
And is it true that they apologize a lot? Did I hear that they are always saying sorry? Is it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's true.
That's the way that works, isn't it? However, I have discovered there's a bit of a dark side to you, in fact, and I want to address this now, and I want to give you the chance to explain yourself here. What's with this blatant advertising at the beginning of your latest video? Guys, let's just have a look at Chris's latest video here. Here we go. What's going on? You get sponsored by some sort of soda company here.
Now this is amazing stuff.
What, Chris? What's going on there? How much are they paying you?
Man, I just love this stuff. It's just amazing. I'm not sponsored whatsoever. That's the thing. I would love to. It's like my favorite sparkling water brand. That I love to drink all the time. So. Yeah.
You just thought you love it so much you'd get it in a video, hey? I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I would love to be sponsored though, So if you're watching, let me know and get in touch.
Susie's always telling me that she just wished that I could get sponsored by Gucci. I don't know why, and so maybe I'll start, wearing a Gucci handbag or something at the beginning of my videos to try and encourage Gucci for a sponsorship. I don't know. Chris, I just want to tell people quickly about your channel. Oh, have you got something prepared? Have you got my channels on? No, you haven't.
Nah.
No. Look, I'll just tell people it's a very cool channel. Now, Chris uses Cubase as his main DAW. However, even if you're not a Cubase user, I reckon go and subscribe to his channel. It's worth it anyway because he has other great just audio tips. I in fact completely stole one of your videos, and I didn't even, I regularly steal your videos, but there was one I did a long time ago, and I took what you did in Cubase and I recreated it in Cakewalk.
That's awesome.
I think it was about vocal thickening or something like that.
Okay.
And it was great. And I just thought, well, if he can do it in Cubase, I can do it in Cakewalk. And that's a great idea for him.
But funny enough, Mike, I actually stole that from Warren Ewart on his channel. He was doing it on Pro Tools. And then I actually made a video on this channel, on the Produce Like a Pro channel, using Cubase And I
Yeah.
think there was like another guy that was using Studio One doing the same trick. So, and now
Hey,
you just did
guys
home
Hey,
cakewalk. So that's awesome.
I'm just spreading the love. That's all I'm doing. So, looking forward to having you on. So, Chris has been a producer for many, many years. Had a commercial studio, guys. He knows what he's talking about. If he's going to give some advice today, prick up your ears. It's worth listening, and also follow the link in the description to subscribe to his channel. Now, our next guest is somebody I've had on the show before. One of my favourite people in terms of YouTubers. Here he comes, Marlon from White Noise Studio. I'll just take you away for a moment, Chris. I'll just shrink you down. Marlon, how you going?
Hey there.
Oh, you sound nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
you've got it all set up nicely. That sound smooth.
Yeah.
Marlon, you how long have you had your studio for? You've got a commercial studio. The one you're sitting in is at home, right?
Yeah, I do my YouTube videos usually at home, but my studio is now almost 11 years. I have had 11 years at that location.
Still learning.
Still learning every day.
Whose videos do you watch to learn from?
Not yours.
I know, because you're several steps ahead of me. I know that.
No, mate. No. I learn from everything and everyone all the time, every day. Never stop learning. That's the end of you if you stop learning.
Absolutely, wise words. But that's the end of the show now. That's all we really need, isn't it? That's for the show there. Marlon, one of the things that I think is really great about your channel is your plugin reviews. Actually, I reckon it's something that you do really well. And if you haven't seen one of Marlon's videos before on White Noise Studio, he has a kind of a hectic pace. If you like your videos to be kind of pacey, yeah. This is the sort of thing you want to watch. Let's look at this one.
Plugin Suite by Acoustica is a very analog sounding bundle of boutique plugins. In this video we'll go over the sound, the positives and the quirks. The Brown Plugin Suite contains a preamp, a compressor, an EQ and a channel strip. The Brown
Isn't that just, it's so pacey, man. I'm very impressed. I'm gonna bring Chris back in here. Chris, what do you reckon of the first few seconds of that video? That's hyper, isn't it?
It's awesome. I love it. I love it. I noticed something though.
Yeah.
You're using Cubase also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, man. I've started using my first official copy was Cubase SX2, I think.
Yeah, same here. That was the version I first purchased.
Yeah, and I've been updating ever since. So what's now 11 point something 5? No, 11 points. I don't know.
It's 11, but there's a 0.03 or something.
It's cool. We're all using doors that begin with C.
That's good.
what I think. Now, one of the great things, I always love that my shows are so international. I have guys from all over the world. And Marlon, I know that English is not your first language, and so you obviously normally speak Dutch. Chris, you normally speak French, do you, in everyday life?
Yeah.
You're in that
English
part
is
of...
not my first language either.
Yeah, right.
I'm French Canadian.
Awesome.
So
Well, it's rather suitable that the first song that we've got up tonight is not an English-speaking song. The first one, or I say tonight, whatever time it is, wherever you are.
yeah,
Chris.
for me it's the morning.
Yes.
For you it's night. And Marlon's like right in the center, right in the middle.
Yes. So the first couple of songs for people in the audience that I've got up tonight, I didn't have too many production notes on, so we're just going to be looking at these, looking and listening to these songs, just generally trying to enjoy them and giving a little bit of critique about the sounds that we're hearing. But this first one is called Tule. Tule? No, it's by Tule. See, I'm not very good at foreign language stuff here. Tule, and it's called Verlipt. I think that means in love in German. Okay. So Marlon's nodding his head. You know a little bit of German, do you, Marlon?
I think it's Verlipt.
Okay, yeah, I probably pronounced it really, really badly, of course. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead. The reason I liked this, I guess, is because if I'm listening to a song in a foreign foreign for me language, and I'm still enjoying it, then that's a pretty cool thing, you know. So because us native English speakers rarely listen to other languages. We're really lazy like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and have a listen to this song, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
Hat lange was das, doch fährt ein Porsche und am Wochenende ein Mazda. Sie läuft wie eine Prinzessin, das ist ganz klar. Doch wehe bist im Weg, dann sagt sie Platz da. Ich seh sie jeden Tag mit Brötli vom Deck kommen. Doch wenn sie Musik los sie Techno. Sie ist die schönste brutto wie netto, aber ihre Freund ist ein Pimp aus dem Ghetto. Was man bitch, schwul, Pussy, dick, das heisst bei ihm so viel wie guten Morgen, Schatz, bist fit. Und wenn du fragst, wie viel Zeit das ist, sagt er, was man bitch, schwul, Pussy, dick. Was soll ich machen? Die Frau, die macht mich süchtig. Neben dir sind alle anderen Frauen Flüchtlinge. Ihre Beziehung wünsche ich nur etwas wirklich. Ich wünsche mir, sie ist brüchig. Ich bin verliebt, und zwar so richtig. So hab ich's noch nie gehabt. Verliert, und zwar so richtig, aber das kann noch schief gehen. Ich bin verliert, und zwar so richtig, so hab ich's noch nie gehabt. Ich bin verliert, und zwar so richtig, aber das kann noch schief gehen. Du siehst, ich bin schon so verzweifelt, dass ich anfange zu singen. Träume schon davon, wie ich dir jeden Morgen Brötchen bringe. Stalke dich auf Facebook, auf Instagram und Snapchat. Und ich sogar zum Sichergehen bei MySpace abcheckt. Starr den ganzen Tag nur Löcher in die Luft, aber kommst schon um die Ecke, hab ich die Wörter verschluckt. Laufe jedes Tisch bei und tritt in jedes Fettnäpfchen. Fühl mich wie ein Kleinkind und nicht nur wegen der Bettnässe. Meine Freunde haben schon die Schnauze voll von meinem Gesülze. Und ich kann vom Schokoglasse in meinem Mund schon bald kein Gefühl mehr. Hab auch schon mal versucht beim Domian anzuläuten, aber kaum sagt er Hallo, fang ich an heulen. Hab auch schon überlegt, selber Rassesfach so zu lassen. Und bis dann die Haare so lang sind, leg ich die Bobbykappe an. Ja, die Mittelrasses dran, ich glaube ich spinne. Rappen nützt dann nichts, dann kann ich eben singen. Ich bin verliebt, und zwar so richtig, so hab ich's noch nie gehabt. Ich bin verliebt, und zwar so richtig, aber das kann noch schief gehen. Ich bin verliebt, und zwar so richtig, so hab ich's noch nie gehabt. Ich bin verliebt, und zwar so richtig, aber das kann noch schief gehen. Was soll ich nur machen, soll ich nur machen? Was soll ich nur machen, soll ich nur machen? Was soll ich nur machen, soll ich nur machen? Was soll ich nur machen, soll ich nur machen? Soll ich ummachen, soll ich ummachen? Soll ich ummachen, soll ich ummachen? Soll ich ummachen, soll ich ummachen? Soll ich ummachen, soll ich ummachen?
There we go, guys.
Cool.
That's the first of our songs tonight. I'm going to go to Chris first. What do you think? What are your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I think in general, I love the reggae feel for sure. So I was, kind of moving around. So that's always a good sign, So the balance wise, I think it's sounds good. In general, the only thing that struck me, like not a bit but a lot, is that the beginning of I think on the first verse where you have that he was referring probably to a club thing, and then
Techno,
you have that
yeah.
club
Yeah.
scene coming on when the music changes drastically. Like for me, that's like a major distraction. I didn't like that. So like for me, it kind of brought me out of the vibe, the reggae vibe, and the essence of the song. So it took me kind of a few seconds to get back into the groove. So, but apart from that, as far as I'm concerned, it's good. It's a good catchy song. The melody is good. I love the way the vocal is up front for verses. It's add a bit of a contrast with what's happening with all the backs and vocals in general on choruses. So yeah, that's my general take on it. For a quick listen.
Yeah, cool. Marlon?
Yeah, I really loved the track actually, and I agree with that little disco dance club part. But I suspect it's just for the video. At least I hope so. That's just made for the video, not for the track on Spotify or wherever it is.
Right.
It's in Swiss German. That's one thing for sure. So I don't understand everything they say as well, but for the Germans in here, I got really big Seed vibes. If you know that band from Berlin with 3 E's, Seed. It's a really cool reggae dancehall band who actually do a lot of their tracks in German as well. So it's really cool. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but this track was fully in mono. It's mixed in mono. It's not stereo, it's mono.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
But
everybody's
I'm not sure that's the track. That it's probably the StreamYard thing. It was.
No, I don't think so.
we should be in stereo. We should be in stereo, but you'd have to check the link for the YouTube video to double check that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it really is in mono. But what's cool about that, because it sounds in mono, everything is still in balance. Everybody's always talking about getting a mix in balance in mono. Well, this track is in mono. It still sounds balanced, so there's some serious mixing happening on that track. And otherwise, not much to complain about this track. I really like all the reggae parts they did. The bass line is really reggae. The skank guitar and the offbeat is really also reggae. And there's a stuck guitar in it. I don't know if you know that term. That's a guitar who doubles the bass line. Exactly as it. That's a very thing. It was really, really cool and really nice. So other than that, I really enjoyed the track. Actually, I have not much to say about it.
I've got to disagree with Chris here because I really liked that weird thing at the beginning. It just threw me, and that's because I just kind of felt like I like to be a little bit surprised. That was all. Just I agree. It was totally like took you out of the groove, and I think I enjoyed that sort of tension of being taken out of the groove and then dropping back in again. But that's the beauty of music. We all like and dislike different things. And the other thing I sort of picked up on was the vocal delivery. It was a sort of a lazy phrasing. For people, if they do watch it again, and I should have mentioned, by the way, the links for all the songs will go down in the description after the live broadcast has ended here. There's that sort of phrasing sometimes where if you analysed it, the vocals just a little bit slow. So again, speaks to me of how imperfection in music can be a really, really handy tool. Having everything on the grid can be somewhat boring, especially with vocals. Actually, I think vocals above everything else should just have that very human, free-flowing feel about them. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. There's not much to say about it. I know that they told me that everything was recorded in the box. There's no outboard gear or anything like that used at all. And that they didn't do the mastering themselves. They sent off for mastering rather than do that themselves. But that was that. And as you rightly said, they did tell me that it was in Swiss German. And the only thing I felt watching it at all, just as a last point, is that was not an inexpensive video to make. Somebody had taken time with that video, and I'm going to throw it out to you. It was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I did wonder, would the song have worked if I just put a still frame up there and played the song? Was it partly the video that was helping the song there?
I would say maybe I'm gonna add to this. Part of it was the relationship with the song, the music, and the clip itself. That kind of was nice to watch. On its own, I don't know. Maybe the more you go into the song, production wise, if I was to listen to the song without the clip going on, I would probably at some point, probably missing some elements, that could be added up near the second part of the song. The third time he goes into the verse, maybe add something else, something to bring, more of a
little more dynamic,
adding to the story, I would say, musically speaking.
Yeah, not for me. I have done some pop, reggae pop. This is reggae pop type of music, and it's all really about getting a more constant vibe, continuous throughout the entire song. So you can nice, chill in the snow in the Swiss Alps. This track is actually it's spot on for that type of music.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We before I move on, you said the word "spot on" there, and I'm going to use that as a really bad segue, Marlon. So talk about spot on. I just want to quickly, talking about our sponsors, mention a feature they have on there called the Playlist Spotlight. A song like this could do really well, like on Spotify, but the hard thing is actually getting your songs played on Spotify, right? And one of the things that people do is try and get on some popular playlists. So friends at DistroKid there have this feature called Artist Spotlight, where it's kind of like a voting thing where they show you 2 songs at a time and you quickly listen to a clip and you vote on that, and songs that get high votes end up in their popular playlist. And it kind of works like this. You'll see this happening like this. Here I am in my DistroKid, and there's a couple of songs there. Not sure about that one. It's okay. Don't mind that one. This one. Yeah, I'll go that one. Yes. So the idea is that people will, go through this process, but of course you need to put your own songs on there. So you go up here to add my track, and you go through. They're going to let you choose a sort of 30-second part of your song. Which part?
We taught each other how to fight and turn a heart into.
Thank you. That's enough of that. Thanks, Mike. Thank you. And click on connect to Spotify. All that stuff, and there it is. You're in that sort of competition, I guess, that spotlight competition.
Cool.
And just a really fun little thing. And if you do well, then you'll end up on one of their more popular playlists, which is a nice thing to do. We'll be talking a little bit about their playlists later on. Moving on to the next song. This one is really completely different. This band is from Croatia. They're a metal band. I think some people, I know some regulars in the comments there who are going to appreciate the fact that this is a metal band. They're called Chaos Addict, and this song is called Dead Promises. Okay, here we go.
Yesterday, it was all here. The promises we made, fields of harmony, and the wise words left unsaid. Today, I live in disillusion, nothing to fill this void. A ghost of human picture extinguishing away. On and on, we die alone within their promises. On and on, we live and learn the beauty of the dead promises. Is what we take, violently break, a flame that burns no more, cold as a stone. Soul is what we wake, rip apart and take it back. A whole more common breeze has turned into ache. On and on, we die alone within their promises. On and on, we live and learn the beauty
So, guys, Marlon, I'm going to start off with you. To be honest with you, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show, because we've got 1 or 2 songs on tonight which are post 5 minutes long or something like that, and because of time constraints, I was going to say, I'm going to have to fade songs out. I actually played that song for longer than I intended to, because there was just enough in there to keep me interested with the changes and things. I don't want to get too far into my commentary there, but Marlon, I'll just actually unmute you. I think it looks like you're muted, so I'll just unmute you. Hello? Sorry, technical hitch. There we go. You're there. Marlon. What are your thoughts?
Overall, this is actually a really great metal alt rock track. I really like this one. It reminded me a bit, especially the vocals. The vocal performance was really strong. I really reminded me of Alice in Chains a bit. That her sound. Lane Staley also used, and also a bit of older Pantera. So the track Cemetery Gates comes to mind. I don't know if you guys are into metal or something like that, but it has that vibe. The entire track has a bit of that old early 90s metal vibe to it. Which is also something which is a little bit against this track. It has that old 90s vibe, and you can at times you can hear a reverb coming through, and it sounds really old school. So really a bright plate that makes the track. Although it was again in mono on my headphones, I don't know how it was for
maybe
you guys.
Maybe it is a stream then. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It sounded a bit distant. So modern pop productions and metal productions are more in your face. This is a bit more distant because of the use of the reverb. I also noticed a mixing thing. That the low end was a little bit uneven.
Okay.
Because of that, the entire sound of the track was a bit harsh, because I think there was some unevenness in the low end. So in mastering or mixing, they boosted the high mids to highs to compensate for that. This can be due to bad acoustics or whatever. I don't know how to fix it in what way, but there were a few things which came to mind. That said, it was a really good track, and it kept me engaged for the entire time. So that's.
What say you, Chris?
Yeah, I totally agree with Marlon. You stole my words on a few things. Track is good. Well performed. The performance is very nice. The singer sings like a god, so that's good. Nice guitar solo, early 90s type of rock. Alice in Chains was on my list. A bit of Creed also, what I would say, balance-wise, as far as the mix goes, something was aggressive, especially the hi-hat. For the whole song was like, man, that was bugging me. Very bright and aggressive. So something that would have been good to work on in that area. I totally agree with you, Marlon. The same takes, So good track overall. The reverb, that I noted that too, especially on the verses. Less noticeable during choruses, but verses was a bit dated. Something a bit more in your face would have been around the drums, anyways. Would have been good and more modern approach. Maybe everything was more mixed individual as far as the drum goes. So the hi-hat was very on its own, and toms and kick and snare, without having that kind of a room glue effect. That would have been nice, to have, and would give that that track a bit more of a modern approach. But it doesn't matter, because it's a great track and well performed, and the performance is something very important. I think they nailed it.
I thought carry on, Marlon.
I think this track, one of the very simple things they could have done to make this track a bit more modern is to simply EQ the reverbs. Just the high part, or just a low part. Just EQ the reverbs a bit, and it would be more glue and not so in your face, and it would immediately lift the entire track.
That definitely does a lot, for sure.
I think one of the reasons I sort of picked this track, obviously, I'm listening to lots and lots of songs during this process, and so some things stand out and some things don't. And first of all, the right near the beginning was, I don't know if they actually used, I didn't look at it technically, actually used an odd time signature in some places, or maybe there was an odd bar here and there, or whether sometimes you've got a regular 4/4 time signature, and just because of the rhythms that are being played, it can sound a little sort of offbeat. But I enjoyed that. I just think it's so missing from mainstream music sometimes to play around with the rhythms in interesting ways like that. And so that was good. Again, I think the vocal performance really stood out. Just as a little side note, especially for people who are recording tracks at home, and you perhaps want to get people to hear your music on places like YouTube. Producing videos can be a really daunting task after you've actually produced the song, and you may not have the kind of resources to do it. And I just like the fact that, I don't know whether it was because of resources or choice, but that kind of lyric video with just some still frame stuff going on can be a really good option, because it's really sometimes hard just to share audio around the web, whereas sharing a video with audio can be an awful lot easier. So yeah, that was just the thing that reminded me of that. But good stuff. I sort of, again, I felt that at first I was like, am I going to listen to 5 minutes of this? It's good, but it better not be too repetitive. And that was a good thing. There was introductions of new elements throughout it. I mean, the guitar solo happened fairly late on in there, and it was kind of nice just to hear it a little bit later than you would regularly get it in a song. And yeah, there were some just interesting chord changes and things that happened in latter parts of the songs which didn't happen so much right at the beginning. So that was cool. Liked it a lot. Guys, we're going to move on to our third song in a moment, but I realised that I forgot to mention right at the beginning of the video, or did I? I didn't think I mentioned that we'll be doing the giveaway for the Ample Sound. I've got to get the word right now. What was the name of that instrument I said earlier? It's called a dongxiao. I'm probably really pronouncing that really badly. It sounds rude when I say it. But yeah, so I did a video about this a couple of weeks ago, and about the dongxiao. Sounds funny when I say it. And so I'm going to be picking 3 of the winners later on. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So if you've come here thinking, hey, what are they doing talking about songs and things, I purposely put it near the end of the stream. So it's a YouTuber's trick to do things like that at the end so that you'll hang around for longer. So yeah, there you go. I'm open about my fancy tricks. So now we're going to move on to something really completely different, in my opinion. First of all, it's an instrumental, and this is something maybe I didn't explain well to people when I was talking about entering. We're not just talking about those genres of music that we're not just listening to those genres of music that would be like songs. People produce all kinds of music. Some people produce jingles, and some people produce backing tracks for movies and music for games, and I'm perfectly happy to have all kinds of things on here. So I think it's important to say that, because if you're listening to something as if you think it's going to be a radio song sometimes, that may be misleading. You're not listening to it in the right context, and I think that's kind of true of what we're about to listen to here. But what's interesting about this is the composer's name is Mike Jackson, and obviously he calls himself Mike Jackson.
No, don't do it
for those reasons. And he said he's been playing the piano for 52 years. So he didn't tell me his age, but he said he was old in capitals. So Mike Jackson, and he said he just makes. Sorry,
not as old as you.
Well, yeah, potentially. It's possible. So, yeah, the interesting thing about this, and I think this is the context that I was listening to this in, first of all, he's using a DAW, which I've heard of and I've tried, but not too many people use it, which is he uses Mixcraft. And
Never heard of
that. You've never heard of Mix? So Mixcraft is based. It's made by a company who actually made consoles, and rather than have the usual sort of format of a DAW, you know, with the tracks and things, and then just it's got a console. It's focused around the console, and it's got the sort of things like saturation and crossover that you would get with a traditional console. That's like built in out of the box. You start off, that happens as you add your tracks to it. You don't use plugins to create that kind of thing. So it's kind of based on that. So I think it's probably good for people that really struggled to come from the world of tape and getting to, you know, DAWs, and they want something that feels really sort of familiar in that way. So it's an interesting DAW. I have to say I tried it and I didn't personally get along with it, but some people absolutely love it. And he uses a whole bunch of VSTs. The whole thing is, well, not quite the whole thing is VSTs, but he's using things from Ample Sound, things from Tune Tracks, things from Arturia, all some of my favourites on this channel. And the only thing that was actually recorded was some crickets and some frogs in this. Were recorded in his backyard with a Tascam DR5 handheld recorder. He actually recorded the crickets and the frogs, so it's nice to have some real vocals on there, I guess. And he was just saying that he's got a really, really old computer, which if he's using all these VST instruments, really struggles and chugs along, but he hates quantizing, because you know what's going to happen is that you're playing that stuff and you're getting a lot of latency. And he hates quantizing, so he spends hours and hours editing, fixing things up. So, you know, I guess ahead of listening to it, full marks for effort, because that's a hard way of doing things. But, you know, so he must love it. Let's have a listen to this. It's an instrumental from Mike Jackson called Moonshine. So I've got to quickly say a couple of things before we let you guys jump in on this. The stream quality of that was quite bad. Definitely follow the links in the description when I put them there, and go listen to that, because I was getting it almost sounding a bit sort of 8-bit at times, and unfortunately that just happens a little bit for us on these live streams at times. So I don't think we can really objectively sort of criticize that sonically too much, but perhaps we can focus on the fact that Mimo Japan, who's our moderator in there tonight and a regular of the channel, does a lot of this kind of thing, programming with VSTs, and he's saying that he reckoned that must have taken weeks to program. What say you, Chris, about the whole song with VSTs? Did it sound like real instruments to you?
Honestly, I think he did a very good job. I always focus, like, when it's time, when it's for me to listen to a song that was fully produced with VSTs. Synths are okay. It's kind of a no-brainer. It's always most of the time good. But when it comes to drums, this is where it gets tricky, or strings, or orchestration and stuff. So, and I think he did a very good job. I'm a drummer, so I can actually tell if there's a good drum performance or not. So no, I think he did a good job as far as the programming goes. It's a nice vibe, nice song. The main element is, of course, the guitar, the electric guitar, which I think, like, as far as the balance goes, drums kind of got lost. And the relationship between the drums and the bass was not quite there. As far as the balance goes, the bass was way more louder than the drums in general, and of course the lead guitar was way up front. It's normal because it's the main event. However, it needs, like the drums, especially for this type of song, it would have been good to have them a bit more up front, just to keep the groove going, in relationship to the bass.
And for those people, those people just sort of starting out, and we've all talked about our channels, but do you want to talk briefly about that relationship with the drums and the bass and how you're approaching it normally, if you want that to?
They work together. They're the groove masters of a song. So I like when the balance is right, with frequencies, but also within the instruments itself, especially with the kick and the bass. Since those two instruments are bass instruments. And I love the snare. Also, the snare is also something that needs to be a bit more upfront in this case, anyways. But in general, I kind of love the vibe. Even at some point, he kind of dropped a bit, which kind of felt good. It felt a bit like a jam, which was quite cool. Yeah. That's my take on it. Very well performed, also, and I think he did like. I believe you when you say that he spent hours to program everything so it sounds as real as possible, because that's hard.
Yeah. Marlon, another drummer we have here. We have two bearded guys with drummers.
Seriously?
Yeah. Drumming cubes. The best I've heard from a very reliable source. I enjoyed the track. For most part, I got a bit. I noticed I got distracted. How long the track took. At the end, it was it got a bit watered down. It got my attention to do that breakdown. I was like, oh, this is nice. This is interesting. But after that, it was a bit really jam like okay, now I get the idea. Well, right. Was the guitar also programmed?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. It's using some ample sound guitars in there. I think a couple of different ones. So yeah,
sounded good. It sounded really.
Yeah. I was thinking.
It really convinced me. Actually, I was thinking it was played. That said, they were too loud. And also, I don't know exactly how he creates his song. He programs everything, but does it keep the VSTs open the entire time, or does he mix down? Does he bounce the
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like he was saying that he doesn't bounce, because to be honest with you, normally if you do bounce them down, and I think you mentioned he had 22 instruments all in all in the track. If you do either bounce them or freeze them, depending on what door, then even an old laptop is actually going to handle it reasonably well until you start putting
That
heaps of
also,
effects on.
Yeah, that also in regards of mixing, because if you bounce it down, then the tracks are set. You won't be going in there tweaking endlessly in a little performance, because you will work what you got. So that will actually change your mindset from creating a song into mixing a song. It will give you a different mindset. You will make different decisions. For instance, I think you would have turned down the guitar and bring up the drums more if that was the case.
Interesting.
It's mindset.
Yeah,
totally
really interesting.
That I think this is always one of the big dangers if you create your own music. There's a point you have to commit the track. This is what it is, and I will work from there, because you can go back in endlessly and tweak and use the overall picture of a song, how it needs to sound, how it needs to feel, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's my take. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Marlon. When it's time to mix, it's time to mix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'll
say with it that first of all, I've sort of done a fair amount of stuff with virtual instruments in the past, and that was well done. It does take a lot of work to get it all happening in the way that it sounded natural, because I firmly believe, of course, musicians, producers like us may be able to pick up that it's virtual instruments, but I would say with a song like that 99% of the general public it's never going to occur to them that they were not all real instruments, unless they were listening super carefully. And particularly, I am a guitarist, and it was really well done with the guitar. It's not too hard to program with guitars these days, but you can make a mess of it if you're not careful with it. You can easily make a mess of it if you don't understand it.
I hate programming guitars.
I mean,
honestly, it's cool when you arrange a song, but I always have a real guitar player to just record the tracks.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not a guitar player, so for me it can
that's
be practical, but not for a real recording.
No, and I think that's the thing, and I know the guys at Ample Sound, and they'd probably be the first to admit, of course, you would use a real guitarist if you can, but these are great composition tools, and particularly for people at home and they're not guitarists and they're keyboard players, then they can get pretty close, or not very close, but close enough for it to sound reasonably authentic, which I think that did. But as I say, what I do know is if you don't do it correctly, or if you don't take time with it, then out of the box, just playing it on the keyboard, it'll almost never sound like a guitar. Like, you've got to take note of sort of slurs and bends and all the different dynamics of it you get on a real guitar, to make it work.
I play mostly bass, a little bit of guitar, and I get better results just picking up guitar, because I can do that. It takes me so much effort to program a guitar that just playing is so much quicker.
For sure.
It is, but not everyone's as talented as you, Marlon. That was good. I enjoy hearing something different like that. I did think that I'm with Marlon that there was a main sort of groove and riff in there. There was then that breakdown, and then it went back to the main groove. And I did sort of think, yeah, you could consider a vocal part for this, or a complete change, or what have you. But I really respect the fact that the person's given it a go, totally on virtual instruments, and done as good a job as I think you can probably do with that situation. And the other thing that I would have mentioned is that there's no luck involved with this. That it doesn't just sort of happen. It takes learning how to do this, and applying yourself to it, as this person obviously does. Talking about luck, did you know this was going to be a segue? One of the other features over at DistroKid, segue, is I was talking about getting on playlists earlier, and just for a bit of fun, they have this thing over there. Look at this. I go up to here to goodies, down to the wheel of playlists. What you do here is you pick one of your songs that you've got uploaded to DistroKid. You have to connect it up with Spotify there, and then they give you 3 spins on the wheel of playlists to see how high up you can get in their playlist. So the first one, look at this. What did I get? or position 13. I'm guessing not a lot of people listen through, unless they always listen to that playlist, but I'm guessing that higher up the playlist, you know, closer you are to number one, the better. But anyway, they give you three chances here, and the best of the three is where you end up on their playlist. I end up at 1088 there, and you can do that once a day with any of your songs, so which is really just a fun thing that they give you over there. I do like the fact at DistroKid that they kind of make it all a bit sort of fun and easy to do. It's kind of like playing a game all the time. So if you haven't used DistroKid, not that they're sponsoring me or anything, but it's really, really good and really easy to do. Follow the link up there above Marlon's head. Point to it, Marlon. Point to my link. Go on. There we go. There you go. You'll get 7% off. $19.99, I think, normally to sign up. So there you go. Good stuff there. I'm moving on now to song number 4, and I'm really happy to say, unless the person's left, I'm really happy to say that we've actually got. This is by someone who's actually in the chat. Yeah, there you go. It's nice to have them in the chat now. Be nice, guys, when you give the critique here, because you know they're in the chat. They might critique your beards or something in the chat. So anyway, this is a song by XLSX. It's called "Fall for Me," recorded in Cakewalk, and on this channel that's quite a normal thing to happen. Using the Focusrite Solo, which is just the baby little Focusrite interface there. Guitars recorded straight in, so you know, breaking all the rules here from us serious producers. And they use a guitar plug-in called TH3, which comes for free with Cakewalk. If I guess you guys wouldn't know that. Does Cubase get any free amp sims or anything with it?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. Don't use them, but yeah.
Cool.
Same here. I tried to use a real amp.
Yeah, there you go. And one of my favourite VSCs was used in this, the Strings Spitfire BBC Symphony Orchestra, which they do a few different versions of. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at that. It's a really impressive orchestra VST, and you get it for free. You can sign up to them, and 14 days after you sign up, they give it to you for free, which is really, really cool. They use a mic, which I've never used, but I've seen it around a lot. One mic used on this, the MXL 990, which is, you know, a sort of a budget mic, which I know a lot of people start out with. I've never personally used it, but I've heard good enough things. A bit of Melodyne used on this. I think the composer was a little bit new to Melodyne and used this. And some of the harmonies, I've never done this. I don't know if you guys have, but some of the harmonies were just retuned main vocals. So they took the main vocal and retuned it with Melodyne. So recorded at home with no room treatment, so had to use a makeshift tent to record the vocals, hung curtains and sleeping bags around the room. And I think that's something which is doable to help yourself out if you don't have a full-on studio at home. You can sort of be creative with different things just to help out. It's not something that you'd want to be doing every day, hanging sleeping bags up if you're continuously producing. But if you're just on a project, you want to produce your EP, and then you won't be producing a lot after that, then I reckon it's worth doing that. And mastered with Cloud Bounce. Do you know what Cloud Bounce is, guys?
Sounds like a online service.
Yeah, it's an online mastering service. I've never actually used it, but that's
I heard of it.
mastered.
I heard of it.
You've heard of it?
Used it. Yeah.
So here we go. This song's called "Fall for Me."
Silver gray, and it feels like it's been raining ever since you went away. And the leaves fall from the numbers change with us, and the snow will turn to rain, and the sun will shine again. So don't ever forget, this is not the end. In the summer, in the spring, in the cold winter winds, I know someday you will fall for me again. In the summer, in the spring, in the cold winter winds, I know someday you will fall for me again. Oh, I know someday you will fall for me again.
Okay, there we go. So that was XLSX4 for me. Let's go to the nicer of you two guys here, Chris.
Thank you, Mike. Love the song. It's a good song. It's a catchy song. Melody is good. Love the voice. Also, the vocal is performed well. Yeah, it's a kind of a vibe that I like, you know, as far as the vocal goes. Now it sounds again like because of the
string.
StreamYard thing, it sounds mono. So the vocal seems to be very loud, but you know, if you listen it to in stereo, this is gonna bring back that lead vocal a bit in the mix by probably 3 dB or so. So it's a bit normal to have like the middle instruments louder when you listen to it in mono. So. But I can already tell that the drums also, again, I'm always picky on drums. I don't know why. But, you know, it's, I don't know, the snare sounds seem to be a bit more, like, too snappy. Some maybe too much compression, or maybe, you know, there's something going on there with compression that makes that snare a bit, you know, dead and kind of snappy a lot, you know, so. And the kick a bit is, I find it a bit weak as far as the punchiness of the kick itself, and that can be again a bit louder in the mix. So that's my main take. You know, as far as the you know the other instruments, it was a bit hard to define the difference between the synths, the guitars, and you know that kind of instrumental. But it felt good. So at some point, it's also, you know, matter of taste.
Yep, sure. Yep, Marlon. This isn't your sort of music normally, is it, Marlon?
You should know what I listen to. It's so broad, man. Except for Schlager. I cannot handle Schlager. The rest of it, it's. I actually thought this track was just long enough. It was an excellent length.
Yeah,
I think the stuff was really good. The chorus, verse, breakdown, choruses, and the ending with the added vocal. I really liked that. The build-up was really good. I had the same comments as Chris. I was thinking after a while that the snare really sounded like a sample, and that in a negative sense. So it was really constant, really the same sound over and over and over and over again. That stood out to me in a more negative way. And also, the track it does have a nice build-up, but not mixing-wise. So, verses, choruses, they all sounded like same volume, same dynamics, same volume. So the cliche is to make the verses a bit smaller, a bit softer, through the drums, for instance, and make the choruses bigger. It's a cliche, but it definitely works. So, for instance, you have that keyboard, which was on what I heard pretty loud. I would only use it in the choruses, not in the verses. For instance, to start off with that, and that will already make some more dynamic, even without changing volumes. And also the vocal. This is a bit of a vocal, which is a hate it or like it or love it type of vocal. It's mostly due because you sing in a way. It's very straight. You start a note, and it's the same velocity, same volume until the end. right? This is really undynamic.
Mm.
If you, for instance, listen to this track reminded me a bit of Britpop. If you listen to Oasis, for instance, they have a similar type of vocal without vibrato, but you can bend your vocal in ways to make it more interesting, more engaging. Same goes with another 90s band, Smashing Pumpkins. Billy Corgan, also you love him, you hate him type of vocal. He's very limited, and he does not use vibrato, but he does use a lot of dynamic in his voice to make it engaging enough to listen to. I think that is something what this track could use. A bit more engaging vocal like that. That said, the harmonies added with Melodyne were really good. And it was smart to put them a little bit softer in the mix, so you have that extra addition of melodies and interesting harmonies instead of it's right up your face. So I think that was very clever and well done. And that said, the track build up, how every part is really good. I like that.
Yeah, good song.
I was always, I was a big fan of Britpop at the time. I still listen to it now, and yeah, I know what you mean about the vocal, but the one thing that struck me about the vocal was it was so suitable for this genre of music, like that. It was just the right vocal, and it probably didn't strike me as strongly as you, Marlon. So I'm sort of not quite disagreeing with you. I know where you're coming from, but yeah, I didn't think it ruined the song in any way whatsoever. If it could have been more dynamic in that way. Of all the songs that I'm looking at in this show, and in fact of all the 3 shows, this is the most likely to be played on the radio as a pop song kind of thing for me. I just think it really hit in that way. It's just like you say, I think that the song length was just right. It just felt like, yeah, that's where it should go. It's a very natural feeling with that, and it's kind of a good hook and all that kind of thing going on. If I'm maybe a little bit critical, this would be for me like a really good demo, but where you would perhaps go, right, that's a great song, there's the demo, now let's use some real guitar amps and perhaps a real drummer, and then the whole thing would really take off like a lot more, I felt, because I could kind of hear the amp sims in there a little bit for me. Again, guitarists. So yeah, but all in all, I listened to a lot of songs, and that was one of the ones that stuck out there. And I think it's a testament to the idea that without the song, you've got nothing. The production, we can tweak things all day, and if we had another 50 producers in, we'd have another 50 different opinions as well. So, but yeah, really good.
Now, just a quick question that I have, because I know he's in the chat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He's stating that the drums are drums on demand loops. So, do you mean that you only have access to a stereo file of the drum groove, or they come into multi-tracks?
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear, because I was thinking that myself, because obviously if you're just getting a stereo audio file of that, then you've got very little. You're not able to mix it at all. You may be able to change the character of it.
It has limitation for sure.
Yeah, with EQ and compression, you may change the character of it, but yeah, you're going to be very, very limited if that's what you're using. Yeah, stereo files. Yeah. So, yep. Okay. So, I think that's the answer. There is, for me, is great demo. It gives a great idea of what the song's going to finally sound. But yeah.
And the truth is that it's not that expensive to get a real drummer to play tracks online. You can get good tracks for $150. Multi-tracks, and everything, and good performance, and
Should we plug Ed Thorne now?
Yes, regular. I think he was on last week. Ed Thorne, another YouTuber. You don't know, Chris, but yeah, he's just started a service, hasn't he, Marlon? Where he'll do on-demand drums. He's actually playing some drums on the song I'm recording at the moment.
Cool
for me. So he's got a service where he can organise it, and he does a great job as well. He's a great drummer. Nothing against you, Marlon, but he's much better than you. No, I haven't heard you play. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pick some winners now for this competition. Guys, what we are looking for is 3 names, and I've got this sort of web page which I found, which picks out names from comments, and that's what we're going to be doing now. So it's not necessarily the styling that I would have gone for, but anyway, here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and pick 3 names. I hope some of you are going to be in the chat here, and the idea here was that if they were a winner, then they could pick any of the VSTs from Ample Sound's catalogue that they want, not just the one that I reviewed. So it's a great giveaway that way. So let's just go for the first one. Drum roll, drummers. Do you want to do that? Can you do that? No. Okay, who's going to pronounce that name for me, Chris?
Oh my gosh. Sorry, man.
Prashuria Goswami.
Goswami. I'll go with Goswami.
Yep. Okay. Cool. He's a bit confused, and you don't have to decide today, Prashura, if I've got the pronunciation. Either the Ample Sound P bass or the Dongshao, as I'm obviously saying completely correctly there. But what you do have to do is go to or email me on this email address here to let me know which one of those you want, and then I'll put you in contact with Ample Sound, and they'll go ahead and send your license to you. So congratulations. I'm going to say I would go for the P bass, although the Gongxiao is an awesome instrument. P bass is you're going to be able to use it on millions of tracks, and they do sound really, really good. Even though us here would prefer to use a real bass if we can. These options from Ample Sound on the bass, and I'm not here sponsored by Ample Sound, by the way, guys, but I use their basses a lot, and they just sound fantastic. Anyway, let's pick another one here. We'll go for our second one. Marlon's going to pronounce the name. Oh, you got an easy one, man. An easy one.
I was saying Chris Grobler.
Awesome stuff. So Chris Grobler, again, just email me there, man, on that email address, and it looks like reading it that you would like to go for the, I've got to say it again, Dongshao. However you pronounce that. And finally, and this one's going to fall to Chris to pronounce, we'll go for our third one here. Congratulations to our winners. And we have
Bruce Landis.
You got an easy one there, didn't you, mate? An easy
one. I did.
And Bruce would go for the Ample Guitar M, which is their simulation of a Martin guitar. And that's another one which I have used in some tracks in the past before. Great for arpeggiated pieces, I should say. And even for a guitarist like me, can be convincing at times. So congratulations to our 3 winners, and we are now moving on to the final song for today. And it's not actually a song, as I said earlier. I've decided today not to just do a pure songs. And this is something really interesting for me, and I actually know that the composer of this is in our chat as well. So it's nice to have another one where someone is in the chat. But I will say that it is 5 and something minutes long. 5 minutes and something long, and I may cut it a little bit short, only because we've kind of been here for quite a long time, and we my guys have got to go off to do their other things, and I had 3 hours sleep last night, and I'm spaced out here. But it's kind of my pleasure to play this song here. It's by I hope I get the name right. One of my viewers called George, either Neumann or Newman, and I'm going to go with Neumann just because. Why not? And George likes to, again, using lots of VST instruments, likes to write kind of soundtrack types of music, really. And, I believe he just does it mostly for fun and enjoyment and kind of trying his hand at it. But I've actually, he's been in contact with me for quite a while, and I've listened to some of his pieces before, and I think he's got a real good feel for things in terms of composition. But anyway, I'll let you be the judge. He's used, again, Spitfire Audio's BBC Symphony Orchestra. He's used the core edition there for people who are watching. He's also used the organ sound from Garatan's personal orchestra, and he's used the cymbals from Big Cat's Sonatina Orchestra. And I don't think he really goes overboard with his mixing. He says he uses the built-in reverbs with the virtual instruments, which I think is often a good choice with those orchestral libraries. They usually have really suitable sounding reverbs, natural things. and also a bit of Cakewalk Pro Channel EQ during the mastering, and that's all he's mentioned to me in terms of the production. So I think that it's really suitably called, in my opinion, Rolling Plains. And again, apologies, George, if I do cut it a little bit short, but I'll get most of it. Let's have a listen. Sit back, shut your eyes, and relax for this one, guys. So I think we're going to getting an idea there of the kind of work that was put into this, guys. Marlon, I'm going to go over to you and I'm going to switch your microphone back on, of course, so we can hear your dulcet tones. So, I mean, you don't normally produce this kind of music, of course. What's your feeling with this?
I'm offended that you actually turn it down right now because I was still not done with listening.
You were there. You were there in the world of Bonanza.
No, it was really engaging. It was I heard a story in the music,
Right.
so that's really nice and sweet. The mono mix down playback, I don't think it did the justice because I could hear samples now, right?
Yeah.
But, so I would really love to hear this actually played by an orchestra. I know this is very not as easy to achieve. But yeah, the only things I if I have to give a criticism, because composition wise I think it's really nice, is try to add in again a bit more dynamics, a bit more legatos, you know. Like find the strings, go for a bit soft to a bit louder, make a bit more dynamic, so it will even sound more impressive than it does right now. But otherwise, impressive.
Interesting. Chris?
Yeah, the composition. Yeah, I agree with Marlon. Composition wise, yeah, it was very good, very well done, well written. And now I forgot if you mentioned that before, Mike. He used samples. Did he?
All of it, yeah. The whole thing is well, VST instruments, yeah. So
yeah. I could actually, There's a part of it that I can actually hear that samples were used, which I think he did a great job, you know. But it's like, as far as an orchestration goes, it's hard to. It needs a lot of work to make it right, you know, to make it like. It sounds like when we watch a movie or listen to a soundtrack or classical music and stuff. So, but I think he did a fair job. But something I would suggest, you know, if possible, is to maybe like, you don't need to record like a full orchestra, a live orchestra, to make it a bit more real. But to add to the mock-up, because MIDI mock-up is hard when it comes to this type of thing, with all the articulations and stuff. It's like it takes a lot of time. But to add like a real celloist, for example, or just one instrument to the package, and you record that and you double that up or quadruple that up, you know. I did that a lot in studio, you know, when I actually made a kind of a piece not similar to this one, but kind of a orchestra type music at some point, and this is what I did, you know. I wasn't satisfied with the work that I made with the samples and the mock-up. I wasn't there yet at all, but I added like a real celloist. She came in the studio and we just re-record all the parts, doubled them, you know, different voicings and stuff, and add that to the package, you know, just to add a bit more of a real vibe to all the samples and stuff. And I think both can work well together. So, but again, you need to have someone that you can reach for to come in the studio or to send your tracks to. Yeah. And you know, but I think with online collaboration, everything is possible now.
That's true. I think outside of pieces of music like this, which I think we'll sort of get back to, it's kind of true of you know, generally in music, like you may not have a whole band, but if you can have, say, real bass and real guitars, even if you're using VST drums, for example, or piano, if you can just get at least, you know, 2 or 3 real elements in there, and everything else is I was going to use the word fake, but that's not quite the word, virtual. You know, that can really make a lot of difference. And yeah, I've never really heard of that idea, Chris, but I like it a lot, you know, in terms of an orchestral piece. You know.
But I think it's good if it's like a kind of a one orchestration piece like this one, you know, where it's only strings, only orchestration without the blend of a real band, for example. You know, if we're talking about adding strings on a rock song with a full band, you know, I guess that's different. You know, samples can work very, very well. So that's kind of the cool. I've tried my hand at this myself, and what you do find is that these orchestral libraries can be very, very good these days, but kind of just out of the box. If you just play it on your keyboard, they'll often not sound that good. You have to be really, really aware of articulations and making use of them as much as possible, even if it's you know, just using vibrato and modulation and things like that here and there. But often these will have quite a lot of articulations, and it does become very time consuming to do that, unless there are some people who are wizards on the keyboard and they can play the articulations and that all at the same time, but for most of us mere mortals, you have to go back and do some editing on that. And again, you know, I think with things like this, education goes a long way in terms of educating yourself of how real orchestras how arrangements work with them, and what roles the different instruments play within an orchestra. You know, where you're going to use a viola instead of a violin, or what have you. You know, education goes a really long way on this. But it's possible to get something right. You know, something like almost perfect with samples, because if you go to the manufacturer's websites and you listen to what they do to demo their samples, it's quite crazy, you know. But they spend like an amount of time that probably one person are working on the piece itself, you know. But it's possible. It takes a lot of work.
I find it interesting that you both mentioned as a quick comment that you felt the composition was good.
Oh yeah.
But I'll go back to Marlon. What makes that good composition? Why is that working for you?
It's, I think, the change in melodies and sound. Like I said, it is a story. It's not a repetitive thing. Also can be good, but not in this case. It really starts from point A and goes to point B to point C, point to point D, and I'm expecting point E, but so it's still not done. So it's really it is a story in composition.
Cool. And Chris, what was that for you in terms of the composition? What was striking you there?
Yeah, I felt like I was watching a movie. The storyline of the composition.
I felt like I was
itself,
watching it. I felt like I was kind of watching a 1960s western. It just had that feel about it.
You're right.
Which is really cool. I mean, I really like that.
Yeah, nice dynamics, and you know, I kind of like the song, the composition itself, the way it's structured, and I like the term storyline. You know, the way it brings you into that adventure. You kind of go into a journey when you listen from top to end. So.
I've got to say that if you're doing this just for fun, it's a great way to spend your time, because it does take time, but it's so much fun starting off with a simple line and then adding some layers and different textures in there with different instruments. Well, for me personally, that's a great way to spend a day. If only I had more time to do it. But it's really good fun thing to do. So well done, George. He's a great guy and really modest, I know, and loves to get feedback, and I hope this inspires him to keep going with that kind of thing. That brings us to the end of the show. It's been great to have you, Chris. This is your first time on the show. I hope we'll see you again at some point. And you know, everyone, please do check out Chris's channel. Follow the link in the description that's there now. And he also, if you are a Cubase user or you are thinking about using Cubase, he also has some fantastic online courses as well, which I've gone through them because I love I've used Cubase quite a lot in the past and I really like it. So I've taken a look at Chris's courses. Very, very good. He just goes through it at a really comfortable pace.
Mike. I think Electric Punishment agrees with you in the chat.
That's good. Yes, Cubase rock. Just good stuff. And so go follow the link there in the description for that channel, and then also check out Chris's course. And Marlon, again, thank you so much. You're always a wealth of wisdom and information, and your critique of things is always just really, really good. I want everybody in the chat now to go over to Marlon's channel and subscribe to it because he always has just awesome thumbnails, and it's just worth seeing his thumbnails in your streams. And I've never stolen any ideas from him at all, have I, Marlon? No, I've never thought, well, that's a good idea. Yes, so thanks for the inspiration there, Marlon. And you'll see me with a beard in the future. But yeah, thanks for being here again, mate. And I appreciate
and thank
it.
you, Mike, for having us. Also, it's always fun to chat with you, and it was kind of fun to be here on the live stream with you.
Yeah, cheers, man. I appreciate that.
I just want to add one last thing before we wrap this one up. It's just a reply to a comment I saw by XLSX that we reviewed this song before. Yeah. It was just stating that this was the second song I finished, and I'm getting better the more I release. And I think that's the very good point, and the key point when we're producing music. You know, the more we do it, the better we get. You know, and absolutely. I think that's the key here.
And don't be scared to release.
Sorry?
don't be scared to release.
No, exactly, and that's the
Yeah.
good thing about what we've listened to today. People, that was music that was released, most of them, anyways. I'm pretty sure maybe all of
Yeah,
them.
all of it. All of it. was
So
released at
they're
some
all been released, and I think the goal here was not to say you need to do this with this song. This song has been released. Just let's keep going. Keep on looking on the future and what comes next. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be released and to move on and learn and enjoy the journey because it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they always say the next song you make will be the best you ever do. So
Exactly. I like that.
If only that were always true. More often than not, it's "Don't."
at least that should be your mindset, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Try to
Yeah, of
improve,
course.
always try to get better.
Yeah, of course. So thanks for joining me, guys. And just one final thing before I do go. It has been a really difficult week for me, and I'm really thankful for my friends. People like Chris and Marlon reached out to me right away and sent me their condolences and wish and offered their help, and I really appreciate that. These guys are not just my sort of colleagues, as it were, but they're my friends as well, and I really appreciate that. But what I really want to say is to the people who watch the channel, again, just thanks so much. I will be probably making a video next week as per usual, but I'm going to play that by ear at the moment. But I will be here for the live show next Thursday again. I've got another couple of great guests actually on next weekend. One of them's not even a YouTuber, which is just, it's so refreshing. The egos won't be here. It's just great. But and he's not even a drummer, but he does have a beard. But so check in next week, and also the other guest is another YouTuber called Jade Star, and she is just awesome, and she's likely to cause some trouble, which is something I'm always up for. So guys, come back next week and we'll be listening to another 5 songs. In fact, I've decided, as I say, to continue this, so this will just be ongoing for the foreseeable future, probably at least up until Christmas or something like that. So I'm just going to keep doing this because it's fun. It's just really good to listen to what's out there and not just always be talking about what you should be doing, but hear what you are doing. So it's just really, really pleasurable for me. So thanks to everyone who was here. I will see you next Thursday. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Marlon. And Marlon, you've got the last word.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Mike's channel, and we'll see you in Mike's next video. Bye.